Hello, welcome everybody. Today we are going to talk about phrasal verbs. But first of all, what a phrasal verb is? A phrasal verb is when we join a verb plus a preposition or an adverb and they get a different meaning. For example, in the first sentence, Joe goes to school. The verb goes means ir, but if we put together the verb and the preposition or an adverb, the meaning changes. As can you see in the following examples, Joe goes back home and Joe goes into the living room. In the first sentence, the phrasal verb goes back means regresar, but in the last one, the phrasal verb goes into means entrar. There are two kinds of phrasal verb, transitive and intransitive. A transitive phrasal verb is when it's followed by an object. For example, he picked up the ball. If the object is a pronoun, the phrasal verb must be separated by introducing the object between the verb and a preposition or an adverb. As you can see in the following examples, John switched on the radio. John switched the radio on, and John switched it on. And they are called separable. If the transitive verbs aren't followed by an object, they are called inseparable. For example, John is getting on a car and Peter is getting out of doing his chores. We also have intransitive inseparable verbs, as the following example, she gets up late. And now my friends are going to continue talking about this topic.
We're going to start with the separable phrasal verbs. What does that mean? A separable phrasal verb it can separate by their object. So, a separable phrasal verb can be separated by their object when the object is a noun. So, for example, I took my coat off. I took off my coat. So, both of these are correct options. You can say took off and my coat is the object. Both are correct. It is optional when there's a noun. No. When the object is a pronoun, you must separate the phrasal verb. For example, I took it off. So, here's took off and the pronoun is it. I took off it. No, this is incorrect. It must be separate. So, when the phrasal verb has two objects, then you must separate the phrasal verb. I put a blanket on. Put on, and you can say a blanket, that's one object. I put on a blanket. This is correct as well. Just like we said before, it's optional. Now, look at this. I put a blanket on the child. Now, here a blanket on the child. The child is the direct object. It is receiving the action. I put on the blanket the child. That doesn't make sense. No. It must be separate when there's a direct object.
I'm going to explain non-separable phrasal verbs. These are phrasal verbs in which we have a verb and a preposition together and they can be separated. We have two types of phrasal verbs, intransitive and transitive verbs. In intransitive verbs, we have a verb and a preposition. For example, I woke up at 8 o'clock a.m., where woke is the verb, up is the preposition. And if we observe, it doesn't need an object after the preposition. Another example is my car broke down last Saturday where broke is the verb, down is the preposition, and in the same way as before, we don't have an object after the preposition. Intransitive verbs also are always non-separable phrasal verbs. In the other hand, we have a transitive verbs where we want to have a verb, a preposition, and an object. For example, I always run into Molly at the mall, where run is the verb, into is the preposition, and Molly is the object. Here it's necessary have an object after the preposition. In another example is we fell off the bridge, where fell is the verb, off is the preposition, and the bridge is the object. This is the characteristic of a transitive verb. It's very important have always the verb with the preposition because they are non-separable.
If you can learn more about phrasal verbs, you can find in our blog a list of separable and inseparable phrasal verbs. Thanks.